Tracy from the Island Sewing Cat, and I'm going to show you how to put the collar onto our new winter cozy. So you're going to have your main panel here, and then you're going to have your long collar piece as well. I'm using contrasting fabrics just so that you can see the difference when I stitch it on, but when you're making yours you're probably going to have matching fabrics. So your long collar piece will be like this, and we're going to fold it in half like that with the right sides facing out. What I want to do is find the centre of here and the centre of here. So the easiest way is going to be for me to fold it in half again this way, and I'm going to put a pin on the raw edge like that, right in the centre. So when I open that back out, I can now see where my centre point is. And then I also need to find the centre of the back neck here as well. And the easiest way again is going to be just to fold it in half, hold your two seams together, and then put another pin in the middle. So on the sample that we're using here, we've already done the first step, which is to stitch our shoulder seam. So you'd have done that first, and then the next step is going to be you want to find your centre points there. So we've done that. Okay, now we're going to attach this to this side here. First we need to make sure that we've got the folded edge of our fabric towards our shoulder seam here, and we want our raw edges towards the bottom. So with it folded in half, folded double, we want it to come 1 centimetre below the V. So I'm allowing the raw edges to go 1 centimetre below the V, and I'm going to put a pin to hold it just through the top layer. We don't want to stitch through the whole thing. And then the folded edge here is going to be at the top. When we stitch this on, it's really important that we start right at the top here. We're going to do a small lock-in stitch here, so forwards and backwards here, stitching down 1 centimetre seam allowance, and then stop when you get to that pin. So stop 1 centimetre before the end. So here we're going to do a lock-in stitch, and this last 1 centimetre will remain unstitched so that we can pivot on that when we come to do our next step. So I'm now just going to machine down and then stop here. Okay, so I've stitched, as I said, down to that pin and stop there. I'm now going to take those pins out, and I need to pivot on that edge. So we're going to turn this collar around this way, like this, to make it come up the opposite side on the V. Now what we want to do is to line up the 2 pins so that we've got our centre back neck lined up with the centre back of our collar. So put those 2 pins so they're together, and then just take one and pin it all the way through all 3 layers now, making sure you've got your raw edges together. So I'm just going to shuffle that down a little bit. There you go. So our raw edges are together and they're all marked in. Now I need to get this to fit into here. So we pivot around on that V point. Takes a little bit of jiggling around, and then we're going to pin it into place. I'm going to put my pins onto the main fabric rather than the collar, because when we do our line of stitching we'll know then when to start and stop. Just kind of always make sure you've got all 3 raw edges together, and work partly from the background and partly from the front, just easing it in to make sure that that collar sits in nicely. So all the raw edges together like that, and around here. There we go, and they're all pinned in nicely. So what I'm then going to do is to stitch. What's very important is that I start right from that end point. So this is where we stop 1 centimetre from the end, and we're now going to start stitching from that same point. So I'm going to stitch from here all the way around, and I'm going to stop when I get to that back neck, so that last point in the centre. So we're just going to stitch 1 half first, and then we'll come back in a minute and do the other half. When you come to here, just make sure there's no pleats forming here. Make sure that's nice and flat and you're stopping exactly on that line of stitching. Okay, so I'll do that step now, and we're ready to do the other half. So you can see my stitching here. So we started right at that point of the V, and then stitch all the way around to the back neck. So we're just going to take those pins out, and then you'll see that the collar will flip up like this. This is the right side of the fabric, which is what we've been working on so far. Now to stitch the other side, it's actually going to be easier if we work on the wrong side of the fabric. So I'm going to turn this so that the wrong sides are facing out. So I'm just going to flip this over, bear with me while we do that. Turn it around, there you go. So we've now got the wrong sides facing out instead. You'll notice I haven't neatened these seams here, but that is just for time on the sample. At home, obviously, you'd have neatened that first, one of the instructions. So the collar needs to then run continually from the centre back neck all the way around to the front. So we're going to keep our raw edges together with it folded in half. First, I'm going to pin in that corner V important bit. So I'm going to put those, line those all up together, making sure that our seams this way and this way are all in line. And I'm going to put my pins onto the mustard side of the fabric, because we're going to stitch from that side, because that way we can make sure our stitching is running over in the correct place. So I'm going to line all those edges up. So at the V point here, we've actually got 5 layers going through there, but because it's a lovely quality fabric, the machine will just take that through without any problems. So line up all 5 and put your pins going all the way through, and just continue that pinning all the way around to the back neck, like this, all the way around. Just do a couple more just so you get the idea. Same on your shoulder seams. Okay, around to the back neck. Then we also need to pin this bit in here. So again, making sure that our raw edges are all together, popping our pins onto the mustard side, like that, because we're going to stitch from this side. So what we're going to do is stitch right from this beginning where our folded edge is. So you're going to start just a little bit before that, stitch all the way down here, down to the V, and then it's really important that you pivot at the V and then come all the way out the other side and continue all the way around right to your centre back neck. So again, we're starting here, down to the V and up and around to the centre back neck, making sure that you pivot there and trying to stick on top of the line of sewing that you've already done as close as you possibly can. So I'm just going to whiz through that step on the machine now for you. So I'm just going to take the pins out, so we've stitched over where we've been, take all those pins out all the way around. And what you would then do is neaten that back edge, these raw edges here, if you're neatening. If you've got an overlocker, that's even better. And then I'm going to turn it again so the right sides are facing out of everything when I flip it around. And just take one last pin out of the centre V there. There you go. And that is your neckline done. And what you want to do is just put a little bit of seam on there. I've got a tiny little pocket there, which does happen sometimes, so just use your iron and just put a little bit of steam on that and pat it down, and it will go completely flat. And then when that's on, that collar will fit really nicely around your neck and make it extra warm for the winter time. I hope you love making yours. So if you want to go onto the website and have a look, we do have the pattern available for this top, and we also possibly have some kits as well, depending on the time of year that you're looking. So go to www.owlandsewingcat.com, and this one's called the Collared Winter Cosy. Thank you very much. Bye.